This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 86 of the Dressage Radio Show on the Horse Radio Network, brought to you by Back on Track, with the generous support of Equestrian Collections and Kentucky Performance Products. This is Chris Stafford in Lexington, Kentucky.
And I'm Mary Lordson in Harvard, Massachusetts, and you're listening to the Dressage Radio Show.
Hey, Mary. How are you?
I'm great, Chris. Great to be here after the new year.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you.
And Happy New Year to you.
Thank you. And I would imagine it is a particularly happy New Year, because congratulations for getting rid of that, the bling and the accessory that you really couldn't wait to get rid of, that horrible neck collar. But you are back in the tack, I hear.
Yes, I am. I just started riding again this past week, and it's incredible to be back.
It must be a great feeling.
Yeah. 2 months out of the saddle is the longest time that I've ever been out. So it gave me a lot of time to think about things and to definitely be frustrated. But, you know, I really learned and figured out how much riding really means to me. So to have it back in my life is really nice. 2
months. You know, when you look back at this, it won't seem like very long, but I'm sure during those 2 months it felt like a year.
Yes, definitely. And those first couple of weeks were the most difficult. Just getting myself accustomed to a new way of life, though it was momentary, it felt like it was going to last forever.
But it makes you appreciate every day, doesn't it? Absolutely. Well, congratulations. You got past that. You are fully back in the tack, and we're just delighted that you are back in the co-host chair as well. First time this year. We've got lots of new segments on this show. Here on the Dressage Radio Show, we're going to try all kinds of things this year. We're going to move along and see what else we can bring you just for the heck of it, just for the fun of it. And I also already got a lot of great comments for the show last week, the show that I had Lyndon Gray and Debbie McDonald discussing young riders, whether they specialize too early, and great response to that, Mary.
Yeah, I tuned into that one as well, and certainly being a young rider and listening to that, I had a lot of interest, but I think anybody could take something away from what Debbie and Lyndon had to say, and it was definitely a great episode.
Yeah, well, we're going to do more of that. We're going to have topics that we will discuss. We have a new segment on the show this week called You Be the Judge, and we've invited a couple of listeners to join us in conversation about a certain test that was both entertaining and in some ways controversial, and that is the WEG 2010, the World Equestrian Games 2010 test of the freestyle test of Fuego the 12th and Juan Manuel Munoz Diaz. That was his freestyle test that we're going to talk about a little bit later on in the show. But before that, we have our guest this week is Matthias Rath. And those of you who follow the sport don't need any introduction from me that Matthias is the new rider of Totalis, the world champion. And, of course, a German rider who now has the blessing of a new partnership with this horse. And, well, what an honor in many ways, Mary.
Oh, surely. I'm excited to see this new pair.
Well, we're going to be talking to Matthias in just a moment, but before that, we also want to mention that we're also going to include a new segment called Mary's Memorable Moment, and anything can happen in that segment, can't it, Mary?
Sure can.
Well, we'll come to that a little bit later.
I'm excited to have that.
Yes, I do too. You know, then you could pretty much have free reign too. There's no telling what might be in that segment.
Uh-oh.
All right, well, we'll come to that a little bit later on in the show, but we're going to take a short commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to hear from our guest this week, Matthias Rath.
Listeners have been asking why Back on Track products work, and what is the science behind them? Well, they have evolved from a combination of ancient Chinese wisdom and modern science, as well as skilled textile production. This result is a polyester polypropylene fabric with a ceramic powder that's melted into the fabric's very own weave. The ceramic particles reflect body heat as an infrared wave, a form of energy with a highly documented pain-relieving effect. This reflected heat helps to ease inflammation, reduce muscle pain, and increase blood circulation. Back on Track products can be used to warm up your horse's muscles before exercise, thus reducing the risk of strains or injury. Most importantly, the product's dual capacity to prevent injury as well as ease and expedite the recovery of already present injuries is what makes Back on Track products so unique. I hope that helps as to why their products are so effective. Visit them at backontrackproducts.com. That's backontrackproducts.com.
Well, as I said, our guest this week, Mary, hardly needs any introduction from me. Matthias is a 26-year-old German rider who's now made the German team. He was at the World Equestrian Games on the bronze medal winning team there, and with the UNICEF Sterntaler. And he, of course, is really making his mark on the German scene now. He's a regular member of the team and also on the World Cup Tour. But he will be forever remembered before he even starts his career and his show career with Totilas, but he will be remembered as the rider who has taken over the partnership there from Edward Gall to be riding Totilas. So let's get Matthias on the line and get to know this young man. Well, Matthias, welcome to the Dressage Radio Show, and thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, hello. Thank you very much.
Nice to have you on the show. I think we can start by saying, Matthias, that 2010 was probably one of the biggest years in your career.
Yeah, for sure. First of all, I was allowed to ride the World Cup final the first time in my life with a horse I brought to the Grand Prix sport with Trivia and UNICEF. Then I qualified with Sterntaler for the World Equestrian Games in Kentucky, and that was really, really exciting. And then at the end of the year, Totilas came, and so all these three things are really make the year 2010 a really exciting year.
Well, what a fantastic year! So first of all, congratulations on your bronze medal at the World Equestrian Games.
Thank you.
And congratulations for now partnering with one of the best, if not the best, of course, horse in the world.
The best. Yeah, the best horse.
The best horse. Well, Matthias, since this is your first time on the show, let's begin by giving our listeners a little bit of background about where you are in Germany and where you're based and what your situation is there, how many horses you have, and that kind of thing.
We live in Kronberg near Frankfurt. And the yard is owned by the family of my stepmother, and we live here. The whole family lives here together with a bit over 50 horses, and a lot of young horses, mother mares, foals, 2-year-old, 1-year-old, and then of course all the sports horses, and that makes it really interesting to see the horses growing up from the youngest age and then to the Grand Prix sport, and that's a really nice thing.
Well, we should say that you began riding literally before you could walk, didn't you?
Yeah, on a horse together with my father when I was probably 1 year old. And then I've got my first pony when I was 5 years old, and since that age I rode nearly every day I was at home. I sit on a pony or on a horse, and that's really what I like to do every day.
And you're one of 5 children, and so did you kind of lead the way as a child, or were your siblings also interested?
I'm the oldest one of my brothers and my little sister, and the other ones, they are not interested in riding at all. I mean, they come sometimes to shows to have a look at my tests or to help me on the shows, but they never want to do the sport by their own. My little sister is different. She's 9 now. She liked to ride. She liked to ride ponies, but of course she's really young, and we have to see what she wants to do one day, because my parents never forced us to ride or to do the sport. It was always a free choice, and that makes it really nice because it's really my choice and not my parents' choice.
Well, right now I understand you're still at university, Matthias. Tell us a little bit about what your plans are academically.
I study business administration at the moment at the university in Frankfurt. Good thing is that it's quite close. I drive just 15 minutes from our yard to the university. That makes it quite easy, so I can ride in the morning, go to university, and ride a bit again in the afternoon. So I'm quite flexible in that. And then I finished university in March, and I have to see. Last year I always had the plan that I do something practical after the university time, so that I get practical experience. And I want to work in a job. And now with the new Haus Totilas, there are new aims and new ways we have to take. It changed a bit, so now we are just in progress to find the right way what to do after university. At the moment, I think it's more riding than working in another job.
Yeah, I would imagine that it's quite a challenge now because you have new pressures and expectations that you didn't have last year.
Yeah, of course. I have completely new perspectives and new aims. Of course, Olympics are one of the big aims, and I want to do everything for this aim. So it's difficult to do something else next to riding, and it's not just the horse Totilas I have to train. I want to bring up the next younger horses. I have Sterntaler to compete in the World Cup season this year and hopefully next year, and then, like I said, all the young horses. So it's difficult to do this sport on this level and to have a job by side. It's difficult.
Well, already you have a very full schedule with combining your two careers, your riding and university, Matthias. What is a typical routine day for you?
Normally I ride some horses in the morning, then I go to university, then I take in the afternoon again some of the young horses, and of course I don't have to go to university every day. The days where I don't have to go to university are a bit easier. Then I can just stay at home and study here at home, and then I can make the schedule by myself. So it's quite a fixed plan every day in the week.
How many horses would you ride in a day, and also do you do any teaching?
I've done some teaching last year and the year before. This year, at the moment, I teach my girlfriend. She's also riding at our yard, so I teach her. And we have two other pupils, but my stepmother and my father are also teaching them, so we share a bit. And of course, this year I will concentrate on my own riding, and then we see afterwards again if I teach a bit more. But here at home, I ride between 4 and 6 horses each day. And now Totilas is coming to it, so then we'll be like between 5 and 7 every day.
And your father, of course, is your trainer and has been for a long time, Klaus Martin Rath. So that arrangement obviously fits in with your ambitions, and to have your father with you the whole time in training, to be at your side and to help you meet your ambitions in life. I mean, it's always been very much a family affair, hasn't it, Matthias?
Yeah, for me it's a really good situation because my father knows me for a really long time, and when he sees me, he knows exactly in what kind of mood I am. And on shows especially, it's really important that the trainer know his pupil really good. And I think with me and my father, it works perfectly over the whole year. Any problems? We never had any bigger discussions. Of course, sometimes we have different. We think a bit different, and then we talk about it. But that's fine. And one rule is always when I sit on the horse and he's training me that I'm not allowed to talk against him. That's one important rule, because otherwise it would not work. And otherwise it works really good. And also with my stepmother, she has a lot of experience and can help me a lot on the shows to tell me about her experience, to help me what to do. And so the whole family situation helps me a lot.
Well, we should say that you're just 26 years of age and obviously now very well established. And now that you're on the national team and with the partnership that you're developing with Totilas, you have a lot of new pressures on you and a lot of expectations as a young rider and on your national team. Tell us a little bit how you would describe yourself, Matthias, as a rider, as a horseman. How would you characterize your personality?
I'm normally a person. I normally don't talk too much. I'm a quiet person, and I'm a quiet person, and I'm more a distant person. I'm not going out too much, and I have my friends, and I like to meet them, but not. But I'm not a person who's going, like, for example, my brothers, they like to go out every weekend in Frankfurt and make party and everything. I also like to make party, but not too much. And that's the same with the horses. I really like each of my horse, and I know them really, really good, and that's also a really important thing.
So someone who's very serious and very focused, and by the sounds of things, Matthias. And so it would be interesting to hear how now, of course, our listeners will be waiting for us to talk about Totilas. So we have to come to him. And the reason why I wanted to start giving a little bit of background about you, because a lot of people, since you've been partnering with Totilas, have said, who is Matthias Rath? Who is this young man? And what an incredible honor for him to be riding this horse, and the expectations that are on him now to walk in these shoes and to develop a partnership with the best horse in the world. So given that background, let's talk about that relationship that you're developing with Totilas. What are your first impressions now that you've been riding him a few weeks?
The first impressions are amazing. The first time I met him in the stable was already really amazing. He really has a big person. He's really proud of himself, and I think he shows it to the people who sees him. And then also the first ride was just an incredible feeling. It was unbelievable. And to have the chance to ride this horse is like you said before, it's the best horse in the world, and to have the chance to ride this horse is unbelievable.
Now, you've been riding him several weeks now, and obviously you have a schedule, two schedules for him. He leads a double life as a stallion and also in competition. How will that unfold in the weeks and months ahead, Matthias? Do you have a plan already?
Yeah. First, the plan was that he comes here for some weeks now in January. We changed that a bit because we talked about it again with Paul Schockemühle. We thought it's better that he's still breeding now in January and February, so then he doesn't have to breed that much in summertime. So from next week on, I take 3 or 4 horses from our stable up to Paul Schockemühle stable in Mühlen. So during the week, from Monday to Friday, I'm always in Mühlen with my father then, and then we drive back on the weekend. We leave the horses up there. So at the next 8 weeks, we have our training stable in Mühlen, and then Totilas is coming to our stable at the end of April. And then he's not breeding anymore, and I think that's a really good situation. So that when he's up there, he's breeding, and of course I have to train him, but I don't have to. I don't have any shows. So when he's coming here, he can concentrate on the sport. We can concentrate on the sport together and prepare for the first show. And the first show at the moment we plan at the end of May, beginning of June. We don't have exactly show we want to go, but that's the time where we want to start with him.
Well, you now, of course, have 2 first-class horses Matthias, with Stanthaler as well as your other horses coming along, Triviant, of course, and you've done so well already this year in the World Cup with Stanthaler. When it comes to a big year like this, you have the European Championships, and then, of course, you're planning for the Olympics next year. How will you prioritize which horses you ride for the team? Will it be automatic, or do you have two roads that you will take, one with Totilas and then another road for all the other horses?
The plan with Sterntaler is to ride the World Cup season. The last years he always got a break in the winter months because he was for the team. We changed it for this year, so we compete him also in the winter season now. So then hopefully I can do the World Cup final in Leipzig at the end of April, and then he will get a break over summer. So in summer for the team and for the European Championships, I just concentrate on Totilas because he's, like we said before, he's the best horse in the world, and so it's no question which horse will be the number one for the team this year, and so we take Totilas in summertime, and then of course this winter it's also not possible to take Totilas because he's breeding, and so that's a really good change. That's how I also did it. The Triviant and Sterntaler, one horse in summer and one horse in the winter time, and that works really good because we like to give our horses longer breaks in the summer or in the winter so that they can rest and develop at home again, and then we can go to shows.
Well, of course, with having been on the team now and being exposed to the World Cup series, you are a little bit used to the media attention and of the sport, especially in Germany, of course. But now, having been on the World Equestrian team, World Equestrian Games team, you understand the media interest in the world without riding Totilas. But now, with Totilas's reputation and the expectations of his following, his huge fan base, how do you respond to that, Matthias? For someone, as you said, who's a fairly private, quiet person, now you're going to have a new pressure and a whole new media attention based on you. The terrific pressure. How do you respond to that? Do you think that you'll just take that in your stride?
It was a completely new situation. Yeah, that's true. After the press conference, there were a lot of media around and a lot of journalists and a lot of questions, and it is a new situation, like you said. The good thing is that I have my family and my girlfriend around. They help me a lot to deal with the pressure and with all the public and media and journalists. And that works really good, and I'm looking forward to the time with Totilas on the shows. Even if I know that there will be quite a lot of pressure, and that the people will expect a lot of me. But I'm really looking forward to ride this horse and to compete this horse on shows. So it's more that I'm looking forward to it, and that I'm happy to ride this horse than the pressure or the negative feeling.
Well, that's wonderful, Matthias. Now, obviously, all that pressure, all the competitions to look forward to, and with your academic pressures as well of graduating from university, you're obviously a very busy man, but do you have any time? You have a girlfriend, but what do you do for fun? Do you get time to really relax and have some fun at home? What do you choose to do?
I was just 2 weeks on holiday. With first 1 week with my family, and then the other week with my girlfriend and her family. So we take from time to time some weeks off and rest a bit and take the time for ourselves. And of course, in the summer season or during the competition season, it's difficult to take some time. But my family knows it for a long time, and also my girlfriend. So they respect it, and they know that there's not much time around. But the time around when I don't sit on a horse or I don't have to go to university, I just like to sit at home, watch some movies, go to cinema, go out for dinner, and meet some friends. But like you said, it's not much time around, so it's really just tiny bit of time.
Do you go skiing? Do you enjoy some other sports?
I skied before, but the last years I always said I don't want to ski because I don't want to risk that something happens to my legs or my arms or something. Because it's fun to ski. I really like it, but it's just 2 weeks in the year, and the other 50 weeks I want to sit on a horse, and I don't want to risk anything. So I don't ski at the moment.
I can understand that. Well, Matthias, you really, obviously, as we said at the start of this, you had a wonderful year in 2010, but this year and the future years, now with such a fantastic partner as Totilas, you can look forward to so much more in your career.
That's true. I'm really looking forward to this year. I'm looking forward to the next shows with Sterntaler. I'm looking forward to the summertime, because with Totilas it's completely new situation. The preparation for the first show, you have to find out how he reacts on shows, and everything is really interesting, and I'm looking forward. And then of course the big aim is of course I want to compete at the European Championship this year, and I also want to be successful, but the big aim is next year, the Olympics in London.
Absolutely. Well, you certainly have your English. You'll have no problem when you get to London with the language, that's for sure.
I hope so.
Wonderful, Matthias. Well, I want to thank you so much for joining us this week on the show, and the very, very best of luck with Totilas. What a very, very exciting future for you, and we should say also good luck with Sterntaler with the World Cup Series and getting to Leipzig to the final.
Thank you. Thank you really much.
And I hope you'll come back on the show in a few months and tell us how it's going with your new partner.
I would like to.
Wonderful.
Thank you really much.
Thank you so much indeed, Matthias. Take care.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Well, great to get to know Matthias. You know, he clearly is a very driven, very dedicated and focused young rider, still only 26 years of age, but what an amazing turning point in your career to suddenly get the best horse in the world underneath you, Mary.
Yes, and to suddenly be under that spotlight. It'll be very interesting to see how things go. I think he'll do a great job.
Well, we want to wish him the very best of luck, and as I said to him, we will have him back on the show later in the year to see how that partnership is unfolding. Big year with the European Championships, of course, and we've got the World Cup Series, first of all, as we unfold this year, and not least of all in Europe, but also we have, of course, the Winter Equestrian Festival, and everybody heading down. If they're not already in Florida, they won't be far behind. When do you head down, Mary, to Florida?
Oh, we're heading down in 3 weeks.
Very nice. Good. I bet you can't wait to go. And how long do you stay down there?
For 2 months.
Very nice. Do you need a groom?
Do we need... Oh, I would love a groom. I've got a couch. Chris, you can come down and visit anytime you want.
Well, thank you very much, Mary. I just wondered if you needed any help down there. You know, the thought of that Florida sunshine right now, I sit in a very cold Kentucky, is most appealing.
Yes, a bunch of ice cubes up here in Massachusetts. I can't wait to get down there and melt.
Oh, I can imagine. All right, well, we're going to take another break. When we come back, our new segment, You Be the Judge, is going to be kicking off here on the show with 2 listeners, Robert Dunn and Liz Call.
Choose Kentucky Performance Products Supplements because the horse that matters to you matters to KPP. This week, I want to speak with you about Elevate Maintenance Powder. This time of year, horses are consuming very little grass and may not be able to get enough natural vitamin E. Horses in riggers training, seniors, broodmares, and stallions often require additional levels of vitamin E to meet their needs. When you need to supplement with natural vitamin E, choose Elevate Maintenance Powder. Affordable, effective, and research proven. Elevate Maintenance Powder's vitamin E is nature's most powerful antioxidant, protecting your horse on the cellular level. Elevate Maintenance Powder supports the strong immune system and healthy muscle function necessary for top performance. It's affordable, It's easy to feed, and you can learn more about this and all their other products at kppusa.com. That's kppusa.com.
Well, Mary, we've introduced this new segment, the You Be the Judge. The idea is that the audience, our listeners, participate in this and tell us what they think about a particular test. And as I mentioned earlier, we're going to start this new segment with Fuego the 12th. Fuego is a well-known little Andalusian horse. Is he Andalusian or Lusitana?
Oh, that's a
good question. Yes. All right, well, I've been put on the spot there. I'm sure we'll find out before much longer. I will certainly look into that. Is he Andalusian or Lusitana? Anyway, Juan Manuel Munoz Diaz, the Spanish rider, rode this horse, of course, at the World Equestrian Games, and what a performance that was. Certainly memorable from many perspectives. It was memorable. So we're going to get two listeners on the show here now. Robert Dunn from Minnesota. He's up in the very cold, frozen north. And Liz Call, who is from Massachusetts. So let's get them on the line and let them be the judge. Well, Robert and Liz, welcome to the show. We've got Liz Call from Massachusetts, and Robert, you're from the coldest place in the world now, isn't it, up in Minnesota?
It's pretty close.
Well, welcome to the show. I say welcome to the show very loosely because you guys are both very faithful listeners to the Dressage radio show, right? Liz, I think between you and Robert, you've probably listened to every episode, right?
Yeah, I've listened to every episode and I love it. It's a great show.
Well, thank you. Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and what your interest is in dressage.
Well, I'm originally from Vermont and recently relocated to Massachusetts. I have 2 horses. I've got my bronze and silver medal on my horse Caddy Master, and I have an Oldenburg mare who I've shown 3rd level. I work full-time and ride the 2 horses, and listen to the show. That's all I do.
Right answer there, Liz. Well, Robert, you have a very interesting job, and you're not new to the Horse Radio Network. I know you've been on other shows. We met you when you were at the World Equestrian Games with your mum. That was great. You came along to listen to our live productions over there. Tell us about your job, because it's fascinating.
I am a wig master at the Children's Theater Company in Minneapolis, which means I build and style all of the wigs for the shows. And so that's the full-time job.
That's the full-time job. Now, what is your interest in dressage?
I sort of fell into it by a friend taking me to a dressage show many years ago when I had no idea what it was. I just liked horses. And I fell in love with the beauty and the precision of it all, and actually didn't start riding until about 5 years ago, though. I started taking lessons finally.
Well, terrific. Well, welcome both of you to this brand new segment that we're calling You Be the Judge, where we're going to get your opinions about a test the first test is from the 2010 Alltech FEI World Equestrian Games, the Spanish combination of Fuego the 12th, ridden by Juan Manuel Munoz Diaz, and that was in some ways controversial, but nonetheless entertaining for the audience there for sure. So, Liz, let's start with you. What did you think of that test?
I thought it was really fun to watch, and I had heard about it on the chat rooms before I saw it, and there was some controversy that people really kind of thought that there should have been the winning test. So when I watched it the first time, I was thinking, well, why isn't this the winning test? And I think as far as the artistry of it, the music, suiting the horse, was really fun. Clearly the rider was enjoying himself, but I think technically, that there were flaws, canter pirouettes, some jumping behind the changes, the walk, which would make this a test that wouldn't win in this competition.
Mary, I want to bring you in now as probably the most experienced rider in Grand Prix dressage amongst us here. What was your feelings about the test?
Well, I think I feel very similarly to Liz here. I definitely agree that it was incredibly fun to watch, full of flavor, and I heard so many great reviews from friends that were watching it live there at WEG. And of course, I had to watch it too the moment it was put up on YouTube. And again, it was full of so much passion, and the music and choreography was fantastic. But again, there were flaws, as Liz mentioned, where some of the transitions were a little tough. And, there are some straight lines that were crooked. And, the precision that you find in Edwards and Totilas's test were definitely not there, though the passion and connection between horse and rider was certainly evident. And I think for that's why it's such a huge hit. It was really beautiful to watch. But again, I think to say that it was a winning test, I think behind Totilas is where it belonged.
Robert, let me bring you in now, because you had quite clear thoughts about exactly how this test rode, and I believe you found it highly entertaining. But in terms of artistic versus technical impression, what are your thoughts?
Well, my impression is much the same as Mary and Liz, except I have to say I had the honor of seeing the test live for the first time. And it was incredibly exciting. I was part of the crowd that was caught up in all the beauty and the artistry of it, how the music matched the movement and how exciting the whole thing was. However, when I went back and watched it online, and actually even when I was at the WEG, I knew it was beautiful, but when you watch, there were problems with some transitions, and he just didn't have the technical aspects as precise and detailed as they needed to be in the medals for the competition.
Well, I picked this test to start off this new segment, Mary, because and Robert, of course, as you were there, firsthand, the response from the public was amazing. I mean, he did get off on the right leg by using music. His opening piece was, of course, flamenco clapping. And that kind of generated an atmosphere for the audience. So it just really speaks to the entertainment side of the sport versus the technical aspect of it. Did you buy into that, Mary?
Oh, definitely. And in fact, I posted it on my Facebook page because I was so taken by it. I mean, watching that test, you really saw what dressage was all about. And again, music was incredible, and it just kept you on the edge of your seat wanting to watch more.
Well, Liz, talking about the technical aspect of it, do you think, as an audience now, we can get blinded by the music and the atmosphere that is generated amongst the public there and influenced? And I mean, that has to be hard for the judge to shut that all out and just focus on the technical aspect of the test. And why do you think that didn't get a higher a mark? Do you think there's some bias, as some people do? Some people think there's some bias against the Lusitanas and Andalusian.
Well, I do not envy the judges, especially for the freestyle. I just, I haven't seen the marks on this horse. There was a big difference between his technical score and the artistic score. When my broad brush opinion of Iberian horses, I think they really do have that carrying power behind and can produce super passage, piaffe, canter pirouettes, but they tend not to be able to extend well. And I was kind of thrilled with this Fuego because I thought his trot extension and canter extensions really were quite good. The other thing with the Iberian horses is I tend to see that they don't have the best walks.
Yeah, I think, we're talking about conformation here, aren't we? We're short, close-coupled horse with very different action. It's not an open shoulder of a warm blood. It is a very different action, and it presents a very different picture. Period. And
and I think we'll see these horses in the top 10 of these big international competitions. Many of them in the top 3. Yeah,
I think it was very interesting. As you said, there were technical errors there that were duly marked. But I think what was interesting, which is why I picked this test to start us off with, was the reaction from the public. We saw that in Aachen to a certain extent. With certain tests there in the World Equestrian Games that really captured the public's imagination, but it makes you really look at the tests now and how popular the freestyle has become, and the overall image. And if that is appealing to a wider audience, it's good for the sport, right, Mary?
Yeah, certainly. I think that's a really important point to bring up, is that it is these sort of tests that bring the views, bring the spectators, and that's really what we need in our sport. And just going back on one of the things you mentioned, too, is I thought it was on Dressage Daily or Euro Dressage, where they mentioned that what if Fuego had been painted black? Would have things been different? If he was a black horse rather than a gray Iberian horse, would the score have been different?
That is interesting. It's all about, presentation and perception and, that overall picture. But it certainly livened up the audience there. There was no falling asleep when he came in.
Well, and I will chime in here and say, I'm totally on board as far as the artistic goes. The air was electric while that pair was in the arena. And I was one of those that after, and it's funny that Liz mentioned that she says sometimes what the Iberian horses do lack is like the extended trot and such, because his first extended trot, I was part of the crowd that was cheering afterward because it was amazing. But it was mainly, I would have loved to have given him the gold medal on artistic. If there was a separate artistic from technical, he would have won.
Certainly.
There was no challenge. No one touched him as far as artistic went.
Yeah.
But it's the technical scores that he lost points on.
Yes. And great choice of music.
Oh, amazing choice of music.
Super.
Yeah, and I think that's so much of that, as you know, Mary, you're putting freestyles together. It's critical now, the movement, the music, and not only fitting the horse, it has to work in so many ways, doesn't it, when you choose your music for freestyle?
Definitely. It has to be attractive for the judges and the audience. And I think that the best thing that you can have happen is that you can forget that you're watching a dressage test, that you're just watching some sort of act. And before you know it, it's over because you were so taken by the music and how it works.
That's very, very true. Well, let's just summarize now. Of course, he did score 81.45. He finished fifth. So outside of the medals, but there were a lot of people would like to have seen him creep inside the medals. Whether he was a worthy contender to beat Hunter Douglas Sunrise, of course, Imke Schelike Bartels also actually finished fourth, just behind just in front of him rather on 82.10. There very, very little between those two, despite the technical correctness, the technical differences. Very little between the two. Would anybody have placed those top five differently?
I actually thought that Sunrise, I liked that ride better than it scored. I might have had that horse in third. But I think the music for that horse was very subtle and have the pow of definitely Fuego.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was just so much going for it, wasn't there, in terms of the total package, putting aside the technical aspect, but the whole impression there of the music fitting the horse, and it was very, very dynamic, and to your point, Mary, it really captured not the judge, but captured the audience's imagination. And if you go to some shows, I'm sure, Mary, where you hear people that are maybe not familiar with the sport and they applaud after a movement. And then you get, the hardcore fans hushing them up in the stands there. But you couldn't hush the crowd there for this test. The crowd was right behind him from the start, and look how the horse responded after his final test. I think he actually went airs above the ground for a moment there, didn't he?
What we're discussing here could become a topic for the entire show, because I agree, like I said, that it was highly entertaining, and everyone's like, this is what the sport needs. But I don't want the technical aspect to go away. I don't want it to become a circus show so that it's just entertaining to the crowd, because that starts defeating the core of dressage and what it's about.
Absolutely. It is striking a balance, isn't it? It's having all those components that make it give the appeal to a wider audience, and yet not detracting from the technical component, which is all about dressage in its purest sense.
And I think that's where the other four pairs placed above them. is they did combine the artistic with the technical and do it beautifully.
Mm-hmm. Well, great. So, Liz, then you would have bumped IMCA up a little bit, but otherwise, Robert, would you have left the top five as they were?
I actually probably would have rearranged the entire top five, to be honest, in my opinion. I thought they were very, very generous with Edward Gall and Totalis. There were some pretty glaring mistakes in their test as well that somehow went unnoticed, I guess.
So
I actually probably would put Laura Bechtel's timer in first that night.
Okay. And in second?
Oh, I do love Total. I think they probably would have stayed in that. Totilas and Gall could have stayed in second. I think, they are brilliant. They were a brilliant pair.
And in third place?
I hate to say it because I am from the USA, but I have to agree with Liz here that I think I would have put Imke Schelikens Bartels and Hunter Douglas Sunrise in third place.
Okay.
I thought they were an amazing pair that night, and I was a little confused as to the scores.
How about you, Mary?
I think I would place them similarly to Robert. I can't say that I watched all 5 rides. I believe I only watched Totalas and Fuego, but I would definitely have bumped Fuego up at least one slot.
All right. Well, interesting conversation. I think this is a segment that we will continue here on the show. You be the judge. We'll come up with another test for you all to consider and come on the show and talk about it with our host here. Well, thanks again to both of you, to Robert in Minnesota, in chilly Minnesota, going back to your wig making, and Liz up in Massachusetts, also very chilly up there too.
Yeah, thank you so much. This has been a blast.
Well,
it's really fun.
Thank you both for coming on the show. Really appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of the show. I think you might just enjoy the rest of the show. I'm sure you'll be listening. Our 2 very, very loyal listeners here, Liz Cole and Robert Dunn. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, it's that time of the year again for after holiday closeout sales, and Equestrian Collections has hundreds of items for you at tremendous savings up to 70% off. Closeouts from Ariat, JPC, Pessoa, Ovation, and so many more. Highly discounted specials include ladies' apparel, footwear, saddle pads, bags, belts, coats, and the list goes on and on. Remember, you can save up to 70% now, but this is a closeout and quantities are limited. So grab the keyboard and type in equestriancollections.com. You'll see the great big ad right on their homepage for all of their closeout specials now for the month of January. Get them before they're gone at equestriancollections.com.
Well, thanks again to Robert and Liz. And if you have any ideas of tests that you think we should be featuring here on the show to discuss amongst our listeners, then please let me know. Shoot me an email or post on our Facebook page any comments that you have and any suggestions for the test that we should feature here. Well, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to feature a new segment on the show, as I said, and anything could happen in this segment. It's Mary's Memorable Moment. All right, Mary, the show's all yours now. Where are you going to take us this week with your memorable moment?
Well, this week I'd like to just provide a little insight. As many of you out there know, I did have a pretty bad riding accident a few months ago with a young horse, and those 2 months out of the saddle really gave me a lot of time to make my life and goals. And I was definitely bitter that the doctor's orders were keeping me from the saddle at that time, but it was very valuable, and even if it wasn't what I really wanted. I think many of us go through this, whether you're a young rider, professional, or adult amateur. And no matter the circumstances, whether it's health or other reasons why you're not riding at the time, it presents an opportunity while you're out of the saddle. And it's one that I certainly didn't see so much at the time. The time away let me organize my mind, and more than anything else had me realize how much riding means to me, since it was that time taken away from me. If the time comes for you to return to the saddle, which I can happily say just came for me this week, I think another important thing to do while waiting is to mentally and physically, if at all possible, prepare for that first ride. In my situation, I was in a neck brace for those 2 months, and there was much that I wasn't allowed to do besides moving my neck, and I could, still walk. I would teach some riding lessons down the street, and I made a point to walk there every day so that I would be at least some sort of riding condition when the time came. And I also think most of the time when I was daydreaming about riding, I played out in my mind what my first ride would be like. And bit by bit, I started spending more time with the horses, and especially with my horse, Rossignol, so that getting back on would be like any other day. One other word of advice when you're playing the waiting game is to share your experience, whether it's chatting about it at the barn, sharing your story on Facebook, or sending out emails. I found that during my recovery, much of my positive light and strength was given to me by friends, family, and a lot of people that I don't personally know from the horse community. And I think that sharing your trials and tribulations can really help you get through a tough circumstance and ease a lot of the pain and frustration that you undergo when you're not riding. Because of my mental preparation and the support I was given by others, I was able to return to the saddle with ease and could not be more grateful now every time I put my foot into the stirrup. And again, I can give thanks to all of my friends and family that helped me through the situation, and also just trying to keep a positive eye on the whole thing, knowing that it was not going to last the rest of my life and that this time was given to me for some reason. And it gave me a whole new spin on things, that's for sure.
Well, I can imagine, Mary. Thank you for sharing that. It is, as you say, it seems in the time that it's happening that it's going to last a lot longer than it actually does. And on reflection, 2 months, but it certainly was a time for reflection, as you said.
Yeah, and again, I do think that these times are given. Of course, I hope that people don't have to go through something like this and that it doesn't happen to me again, but it's you just have to take advantage of it when it comes to you and make the best of your situation.
Absolutely. So any other topics for your memorable moment segment?
Sure. Well, on a more lighthearted side of things, I would like to talk about a movie that I recently saw. I don't make it out to the movie theater too often just because of time, but I recently saw the movie The Black Swan, and it was one that I was certainly taken by when I saw the trailer for this movie, and it is one I would highly recommend for people to get out and see, though it may not be for everyone, especially people that are a little, I don't know, it had sort of a horror movie thriller sort of feeling to it. It certainly made you feel on edge from the very beginning to the end. There certainly uncomfortable, but at the same time it was incredibly well done, and I think one that is really just one to see, especially if you can see it in the movie theater because of how the scenes were done and the music. It was really nice to see it in a big theater. So, did you see any movies this year, or did you have a favorite movie this year, Chris?
I do already, Mary. The King's Speech is my pick.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Wonderful, wonderful movie. And I did see the trailer to The Black Swan, but it just felt like it was a bit too spooky for me. There's some aspects of it I thought, oh, that's interesting. It's, I might enjoy that, but no, the horror, no, too much tension for me. The King's Speech, I have to say, was just a wonderful movie. And being an expat, I could relate to the monarchy and the historical value. But it was a side to the story I hadn't known about. I didn't know that he had the speech impediment that he did and how he overcame it. And those of you who are listening from England and Australia will appreciate that, it's only an Australian that could talk to the king the way that Geoffrey Rush did and get away with it, and they became firm friends apparently. But he did step over the line. If you were English, there is protocol to consider, and you felt all that in the movie. It was brilliantly acted by Colin Firth. I thought absolutely brilliant, and certainly worthy of an Oscar nod. I certainly I know we're different generations, Mary, but for me that was an outstanding movie. It has to be in my top 10 favorite movie of all time. Wow. Yeah, it would make it to the top 10. Yeah, I absolutely loved it. So, yeah, good.
Well, that's definitely one I want to see.
Yes.
I've heard great things.
Yes, let me know what you think to it.
Definitely.
All right. Well, any other thoughts for the week before we sign off here, Mary?
No, I think I'll spare you any more details for this week, but I'll certainly have something next time.
All right, wonderful. Well, why don't you remind everybody how they can reach us here on the show, Mary?
All right. Well, you can find our show notes on the website at www.dressageradio.com. Visit our fan page on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter at Horse Radio and Chris E. Stafford. Contact us at chris@horseradionetwork.com. And always, you can pick up the phone and call 270-803-0025.
All right. Well, thank you, Mary. And as always, I want to thank our sponsors and our crew and make this show possible. And, of course, our guest this week, Matthias Rath. Thank him very much, and we wish him the best of luck with Totilas. And also to our two listeners who shared their thoughts on our new segment, You Be the Judge, Liz Call and Robert Dunn. Well, thanks to all of them, and thanks to you for listening from around the world. We really do appreciate your support. It really makes this show possible. We know that you're out there, and we want to bring you something new and different now with the show. So, as always, let me know if you've got anything you think we are missing out on here on the Dressage Radio Show. And great to catch up with you too, Mary. Nice to know that you're back in the TAC and soon be heading to Florida. So you can bring us some updates when you're down there, I hope.
Yes, I can't wait.
All right, wonderful. Well, as always, I will be back. Same time, same place next week. So until then...
Please remember to practice safe riding by always wearing your helmet and fastening your chin strap. And please don't text while riding.